Good afternoon, everybody. Fergus Dolan here from NALA. You're very welcome to our webinar today on creating classroom resources using ChatGPT and Copilot. Scott Wilson is an IT and literacy tutor with Tipperary ETB, and Scott will be facilitating for you today. He's asked me to encourage you to type in questions in the chat box. Whenever something pops into your head, a question or an idea or a tip, type it in the chat box. And Scott said I can interrupt him and give him your questions as they come along. So over to you, Scott, and all the best.
Cheers. Thank you very much, Fergus, and welcome everybody. Thanks for being here. We have quite a lot to get through, so I'll be just working through. As I said with Fergus, the questions, please just have them come into the chat, and Fergus will interrupt me with any relevant questions as we go along, and I'll try and answer them as best I can. As Fergus just said, I'm a tutor with the Tipperary ETB, and I'd like to, as part of this presentation, I'd just also like to just acknowledge my colleagues in helping me learn more about this topic, and also help me get the presentation together, as well as other NALA attendees who have been in my presentations before. All feedback is really welcome, and it really just helps improve my understanding and everyone's understanding. So please, if you've got questions, put them into the chat. So today we're going to be looking at creating classroom resources using ChatGPT and Copilot. Copilot is run by Microsoft, and I'm actually just going to shut my camera off because it just affects my internet a little bit here. So excuse me while I just close off my video. All right, so I've just got the way the presentation is going to work. I've just got a small PowerPoint presentation just to go through, just to talk about some of the background of ChatGPT and Copilot. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually just use the tools themselves live in front of you, because I think what's really important that I'd like to stress to everyone here is I'm in no way any sort of tech expert or anything like that. I'm a tutor, and I have just learned to use them, and I use them in a very simple way, which I think that everyone can do. So I want to just do it as a sort of a live session and see what happens. So let's just move along. Okay, so OpenAI was the company that created ChatGPT. OpenAI is an amalgamation of, well, it's an that people have invested into, and one of them is Microsoft. Google also invested into OpenAI as well. And Elon Musk, I think right at the start, invested in them, but he left. And so I'm just giving you that bit of background because you may have seen some of this sort of stuff in the news, and Elon Musk being unhappy with OpenAI and stuff like that. We don't have to worry too much about it, but that's how they're all sort of connected. ChatGPT and also Copilot as well, they are what they call actually large language models. And I think it's important that we just mention that this whole term about AI and just maybe go beyond AI. I'd rather people think more about it as ChatGPT and Copilot being a language model rather than an AI. What do we mean by a language model? As it sort of says there in what OpenAI says, a language model, what ChatGPT and Copilot are doing is they're actually learning our language. They're learning the meaning of words, they're learning the meaning of phrases, they're learning our intentions, they're learning context, all of that sort of thing. That's what the AI is doing. It just so happens, because it's got a lot of access to a lot of information, that it can give us then answers that are really, quite interesting and quite knowledgeable in that way. So that's what we're doing. And so as it says there, all we need to do to interact with these AIs is just converse with it, just a normal dialogue. You don't need any special words, you don't need any special programming or anything like that. You just talk or text the way that you normally do, and it'll give you an answer based on that. I guess the other thing though with that though is that it then sometimes doesn't understand what it is that you're asking. And so when we get to it, when I show you the screen later on, you'll see that there's a bar where we put our text in called the prompt. And sometimes we have to keep changing our prompts to get exactly the answer that we're looking for. So the versions that we're looking at today are free. ChatGPT is freely available on the web at that address there, chat.openai.com. You can also get apps for both ChatGPT and also Microsoft Copilot. Just be wary of if you're going to get the apps for your phone, just make sure that you are getting the legitimate app from OpenAI for ChatGPT and the Microsoft app for Microsoft Copilot, because of course on the app stores there's a lot of rip-offs and people piggybacking on these names. So ChatGPT is also available on the web, and it's a free, and you just if you haven't signed up before, you just need to give you an email. Signing into both of them is important, because then your previous work, your previous prompts, what you've asked these AIs to do will be saved, and we'll see this in a little while. Microsoft Copilot is actually available to anyone using Microsoft Edge, the browser. And when you start a new tab, it will usually appear in the search bar, as you can see on that screen where the red arrow is pointing. It's that colored ribbon sort of symbol there. And if you click on that, it opens up Copilot. I'll give you a demonstration of Copilot after we have a look at ChatGPT. Where they're similar is Microsoft Copilot uses ChatGPT as what they call as the engine, except that it uses version 4, which is the latest version of ChatGPT. The free version of ChatGPT itself uses only 3.5, the version 3.5. There isn't much of a difference, except, well, you'll see the slight differences, but for ChatGPT 3.5, it's just using a slightly older knowledge base. So it may not know things that happened yesterday, for example. All right, so a couple of things. The main points that I'd like to just sort of emphasize with using ChatGPT or Copilot is that it's a great time-saving tool. As we'll see, it for tutors and teachers and other people who are content creators, it can save you loads and loads of time. I don't find that anything that these two tools generate is like mind-blowing or groundbreaking or anything like that, but it does save you time. The time it takes to generate 100 words of text, it would take me 5 or 10 minutes, and that's not including then, thinking time and, how am I going to write it and, what form it's going to be and these sorts of things. So it's great for a time-saving tool. The other really important thing that it can do is that it can individualize content for learners. So that could be individualized per class if you've got different levels of learners, or it could be actually to each learner within the class. You may have a learner that comes from a farming background versus a I think someone's got their mic on there. Could you just make sure that it's off? I'm just getting some feedback. Yep, that's okay. Thank you. You might have a learner that's from a farming background, maybe a learner that is from a different cultural background. And ChatGPT and Copilot can change content very quickly. As I've noticed there, it does has limitations, mainly around understanding what you want it to do, but also you can run up against copyright issues and things like that. But again, it's just through using it that you find these sorts of things. But it has a massive amount of capability, turning text into different languages and stuff like that. It can do it all in the one place. And as I've put there as well, fact check. Okay, you may have seen lots of write-ups and articles about like, oh, people presenting stuff from, ChatGPT or Copilot, and it's not right and it's incorrect and everything like that. With all things as educators, all things we should be fact checking. So I don't find that AI is any different from what we should be doing as teachers and tutors and the like anyway. If we've just grabbed something off the internet and running into class and not looking at it, it really says more about us than it does about the tools. Both of these tools are only as good as us using them. So if we're using them incorrectly, we're going to get poor material out of them. I know that there is a lot of concern around the ethics and copyright and morals and all these things with AI and stuff like that. I'm not really going to touch on that sort of things. I think they're important, but it's not what we're here for today. It's just mainly just about how we can use this for creating content for our classes. In the resources that I will get Fergus to email everybody, and I'll also put them up on screen at the end, there is some articles more around those sorts of topics as well, which I'd encourage people to read and be knowledgeable about. But certainly today, it's just more about the creating content for us to use in classes and for learners to use. Okay, so without any further ado, let's go and have a look at ChatGPT.
Hi, Scott. We've got one question there. I might stick in now.
Yep.
I'm using ChatGPT with my class. I was wondering how you can save the material. It gives some really good material, and I'd like to save it to OneDrive.
Okay, yes,
And
all right.
also, how can you put it in another language?
Yes, okay. So we'll have a look at those couple of things in time. With the saving of the work, this is why it's important that you create an account. As you can see here, I've got you hopefully now looking at my screen here, and I'm looking at ChatGPT. Is that right, Fergus?
Yes, yeah,
Yep, it's showing.
ChatGPT
Okay.
3.5.
Yep, great. And you're just looking at some of the things that it's put up there. When you have an account, you log back into the account, all your work is saved within ChatGPT. So on just explaining some of the screen here. So under where it says ChatGPT 3.5, down under there, this is where the main content is created or appears, okay? Down the bottom, you can see it says message ChatGPT. This is the prompt box. This is where we put our prompt in to get ChatGPT to react. Okay. On the left-hand side in this column down here is all the different chats that I can be having with ChatGPT. And as you can see, I've got a few of them here. Okay. Now you can create a new chat for every single class that you run. You can create a new chat for each single topic that you might want to create content on. You could create a new chat on, for each individual learner if you want, and they will all be kept here. If at any stage you want to close that chat or keep it, and talking about storage and stuff, you can then archive that chat, and it will be then archived. It will be saved then onto your computer, as I just did there. You can also rename chats, and you can also share the content as well. And if I just click on share there, it's usually through a copying a link, copy a link. So you can also get the content out of ChatGPT. And I'll show you that in a little bit. So what we're going to do, as you can see up here, I've got new chat. I'm just going to start a new chat. And it will give us a blank screen like you see in front of you, and it's ready for us to go. All right, so I'm going to put in the first prompt. Now, ChatGPT and Copilot, they're both known as generative AI. And what they mean by generative AI is that it generates content, basically. That's all it comes from. So you generate it using prompts. So sometimes we just get a little bit stuck for ideas, and this is one of the great things that I find that ChatGPT is good for. It's great just to generate ideas. So for example, I could do I teach maths as well, So fun games in class teaching shapes. Okay. Now, we don't have to be too worried about our spelling. I'm not the best speller in the world. ChatGPT and Copilot are very forgiving for this. So once I've put in my prompt down here, I just enter it in and it will start generating it here. And as you can see, it generates it very quickly. And here's a bunch of ideas for games with shapes. Now, again, you can quickly look over those things, and anyone who's been a tutor who has to do maths or shapes will, I don't think you'll find any of those particularly revolutionary. But it can be the spark that gets us going. I actually just recently created a board game, because of an idea that ChatGPT put in front of me. And I went, oh yeah, I could expand on that. So ChatGPT is great for those sorts of things. Now that we've got some of the content created, it's important that we look at these symbols down the bottom. Every time ChatGPT creates a piece of content, you'll see these down here. One of them is read aloud, and ChatGPT.
Teaching shapes can be made engaging and fun through various classrooms.
Okay, I'm not sure if everyone can hear that, but it was actually just reading it out. That's good, particularly if you're in a language class. This one here is copy. So what you can do is you can copy what ChatGPT has put there, and you can see it made a little tick, and then you can potentially go over to a Word document here. Hopefully it's loading in my Word document. And once you've copied it, you can just, hang on, it's just taking a while to load in. You can just paste it in. And there we go. And then you can paste it in. And then you can change it and manipulate it and everything like that. So one of the answers to the question before about wanting to save it to OneDrive and stuff is maybe what might be a good idea is to get the content out, put it into a Word document, and then you can save it wherever you want. Okay. The other one here that we have is called regenerate. If you are unhappy with what ChatGPT has given you, you can ask it just to regenerate it, and it'll take the same prompt, as you can see, that it did before, and it'll try and answer it again in a different way. This is not such a good example for this sort of thing, but particularly when you're getting it to do, summaries of a topic or things like that, it can be quite handy to just get it to just regenerate it, and it'll give it another go. The last one in this list is this little response here, and you can do a thumbs up and a thumbs down. This is quite good in that you can train ChatGPT or each channel that you're in, you can train that channel to be more responsive. So if you think that that's a bad response, you can click on that bad response and say, no, didn't like it. It wasn't factually correct. It wasn't exactly what you were wanting. You can put in your own things, and that way you actually train the AI back. It'll actually learn from those things, and hopefully in the future give you more appropriate responses as well. And that is separate in each individual channel that you do. Okay. All right. So the other thing I should mention about these or the chats, I should say, I keep saying channel, I'm sorry. It's channels or chats, whichever program you're using. Each one of these chats is separate from the other. But the important thing is ChatGPT remembers whatever is in that chat, even if it was done 3 months ago. It will be able to pull it back, and you can talk about it. And we'll see a bit of an example of this in a little bit. Okay, so it's a great ideas. It has a great ideas generator, but we can be also very much more specific with it as well with our ideas. For example, we can ideas for I'm putting in a prompt here, ideas for a cooking class for people with low cooking skills. The class is for parents and their children. So I put that prompt in, and as we can see here, it'll just generate a bunch of ideas. And okay, so yep, away it goes. All right, so there's a few ideas here. One that I could be interested in is the simple recipes. So what I can then ask is say, give examples of simple recipes. I am not a chef. I do cook at home, but I'm no chef. So here we go. It gives us some examples. So you can stop at any time. See in the prompt box, you've got a little stop button towards the right-hand side. So if you've got sick of it, you can just stop it and it'll stop in the middle of it. Okay, so that's fine. But what about recipes that are gluten-free? Okay, so it'll change those recipes now to gluten-free recipes. Okay, and I'll stop that again because I've seen one that I like. There we go. Of course, the gluten-free pizza. Please, oh, please. I keep saying you don't have to say please to AI, but it's still nice to keep our manners, isn't it? All right, please write the recipe. Sorry, my spelling out in full. Okay, so I'm going to get it to write the pizza recipe out in full. And here we go. Now it'll do it as a proper recipe with instructions and all of that. And again, if I'm happy with that, I can copy it and then just go put it into my Word document.
Scott.
Yes.
There's a question from Deborah saying, I don't have those symbols at the bottom of ChatGPT, so I can't save. How could I get those symbols?
You don't have those symbols at the bottom of ChatGPT. I'm not sure why. I'm sorry, Deborah. I'm not sure why you wouldn't have those symbols there. They should, as you can see, they appear after. Maybe just bring your mouse over them as well, because you can see that they're not there when you don't put your mouse. See here, when I bring my mouse over, they then appear. So it could be that. I'm not, other than that, because they're always there. They're always there. They're not there for your own one, but they're there for the response that ChatGPT gives. So I'm sorry, Deborah, if I other than that, I'm not 100% sure why they're not appearing. You're definitely using chat.openai.com, the correct ChatGPT as well. That's something just to check as well, because there's a lot of people, there's a lot of websites out there sort of piggybacking off it as well. If anyone else has any ideas why they might be appearing, please put in your ideas into chat as well. That might be able to help Deborah there. Okay, so there you go. As you can see, you can just keep talking to ChatGPT. You can just keep digging down into things that it produces. You know, if we need more instructions, I can get it to give make the instructions more detailed. Okay, so it's making them more detailed. It's adding in the oven temperature and stuff like that. And this is where the whole conversation and the language model thing comes in with ChatGPT. You can see my prompt that I put in was make the instructions more detailed. I didn't have to tell it that I was talking about the gluten-free pizza recipe that it had just created. And this is where the AI sort of stuff starts. And this is where the language model things in. It knew that I was taught the instructions was obviously the ones that I was just talking about. Okay, and it's very good like that. Okay, let's have a look at, if we wanted to create something that was a little bit more detailed though as well, we can actually put in, I just need to flip over. We can actually use our modules, the module descriptor, the learning outcomes in the module descriptors as well. And here I've got a, here I'm going to put in I think this is from level 3 cultural awareness. I think it is, if I can remember off the top of my head. And here's a learning outcome. And it says, and I've put the prompt in. Use the following learning outcome to create a class activity. And you can see there the learning outcome is compare cultures of countries other than the native country, etc., etc., etc. Okay, I literally just copied that straight from the module, and all I did was add in the first bit, telling ChatGPT what I wanted to do what I wanted it to do with that information. And then away it goes.
Scott, I have another question.
Yes.
Dee is asking, is it just literary response, or is there an option for both visual and literal response?
Okay, that's a good question. So ChatGPT does not do anything visually. Copilot does. ChatGPT is only text, and as you can see here with the reading aloud symbol, it will read it out. Copilot will actually allow you to input using a microphone. It can output through audio, and it can also draw pictures, and we'll have a look at that in just a little bit. Okay, so another thing.
One more, sorry, Scott, I have one more question. Can you ask it to put it in very plain English for very basic language or low literacy students?
Yes, indeed. So what you can do is, I'll just go on to the next. Okay, so we can do it like this. So here's another prompt. Summarize in 100 words the history of sherbet. So away it will go. I know nothing about sherbet, so I would have to fact check this. Okay, so that's fine. It's done it like that. So what we can do is then it knows the CEFA levels, the European reading standards. So rewrite the summary in CEFA at level A1 level. And so now it'll do the same thing. Now, people who are language literacy and language experts might beg to differ about whether that's been done correctly or not. I'm not sure, but it has done it in simpler language. And certainly, you can use terms like plain English. You can tell it to use simple words. You can even get it to use, I think it's the Flesch reading score to you can put text in and it can then rate it and stuff like that and change it too. You can copy from another document and put it in. But once you've got the text there, there's a few other things that you can do as well. And what we'll do is we can have multiple things going on. So here I'm going to get it to do the summary. I'm going to get it to do it at C2 level, which is of course higher. And it starts using bigger words and things like that. And then while we've got it here, as I said before, it will remember what it has put in. So we can get it. I'm going to get it to create 5 closed questions, comprehension questions from the A1 summary. So it will now create those closed questions with the from the A1 summary, not the C2 summary. We can go further, and we could do. Let me see what other questions that there can be. True and false questions, I suppose. But then what you can do is you can get it to. Let's copy this. And we'll get it to put it together. So now I'm asking it to put the A1 summary and both sets of A1 questions together in a text. And there you now have, it's added the answers in, so we can get it to take the answers out. But basically, you've got your worksheet. So I can copy that now. I can put it into my Word document. And there you go. You can manipulate it, and there's your worksheet. And that's for someone who's an A1 reader. You could now go back and do the same thing for someone who's a C2 reader. And then both students are working off the same topic. They're just getting it presented to them in a more individualized way. And as you saw, that took all of about 3 minutes. And this is where I'm saying it's a great time saver. Okay. Let's see what else we can also get it to do. Now, it also makes maths questions as well. It's great for even simple things. So, for example, list 10 Ing words about farming. Like I said, if you have a learner who's into farming, you might want to practice those words rather than other Ing words. Just make it a little bit more relevant to the learner. You can get, let's have a look at this. You can get it to create worded math problems that involves multiplications in a farming context. And it's not only doing that, it's giving me the solution as well, which is great because math is not my strong point. So it can help me out work it out. And as you can see there, a farmer has 5 fields of wheat, each can produce 200 bushels of wheat, and etc., etc., etc. And again, it just makes it more relevant. It just makes it more relevant to the learner. Sorry, I'm just having some screen issues here. There we go.
So Scott, another question saying, so those are the same quizzes for different reading competencies.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So that's right. So you can. So I got it to do an A1 true or false. So I could get it to do. I could, and again, it knows what I was talking about. So I could get it to do. Even though I've gone on to other things here, I can put in a prompt and say, create 5 multiple closed question comprehensions from the C2 summary. I don't have to go give it extra detail. It knows, because I'm in the same chat channel, it knows what I was talking about. It just goes back and recreates what it creates the questions from what it created previously. And like I said, it never forgets. Unless I delete this chat up here by clicking on the 3 lines and delete it, it's always there. I can always go back into it. And this is where you might want to use new chats for different classes, different students, or different topics. So then it helps divide it up. It's easier for you, to then go find stuff that you might have mentioned before. One of the other things that is quite handy is this, particularly for people who might be teaching at a higher level. One of the things that I like that it does do, it will create a marking scheme, and it seems to know the QQI levels. Now, I've not used a direct learning outcome here, so but you can put in your own. I'm just getting it to create a level 5 marking scheme based on the author's symbolism. So we'll get it to do a marking scheme, and as you can see, it will start it off, and away we go. And it comes up now. So what I might want to do though is, personally, I like marking schemes to put it into a table. There we go. And there you go. All right. So there's a nice little table format. Now, what I might want to do also is I might want to include in the table examples of each standard. So let's see what it can come up with. There you go. And so this is more, obviously, this gives the learner more detail about what exactly it is that you're after. Obviously, this is what ChatGPT is after, but again, it gets you started. Would I recommend just copy and pasting this and handing it to a learner in the classroom? Absolutely not. It needs us. Okay, AI is just the tool that can, I don't know how long it would take everyone else on this call to write that out, but for me, I'm looking at, even if I had all the ideas in my head ready to go, I'm talking 15 to half an hour to just write that out and put it into a table in Word, whereas I can just copy it and I can just go and paste it, and then I can edit it and do it the way that I would like. So there it is there. Now, of course, someone was asking about language as well. So let's put I'm just going to put the Sherbet summary into Latvian, just to show that it can do it. There you go. Now, anyone on the call who has a Latvian, is a native has the native Latvian language ready to go, you can tell me how accurate that is. But what you can do, if you're ever unsure, you can go and put things like this into, say, Google Translate or things like that, just to get as far as I've seen from what I've used it for at different times, it is pretty accurate. Again, they're never 100% accurate because it doesn't have the natural language ability of a native of Latvia, obviously. And you could get all the questions done in that as well. Now, one last thing before we go on to ChatGPT that I want to show that, onto Copilot that ChatGPT does as well, is you can get ChatGPT to also pretend to be other people, or like historical role plays or something like that. One of my favorite ones is I get ChatGPT to be a historical figure, and then the learners can ask ChatGPT to be that, ask ChatGPT questions. So for example, pretend to be Julius Caesar. Answer following questions as if you... Let's see if it does this. I'm literally just making this up the top of my head. I've not done... Okay, so there we go. All right, so I can then go, hi, Julius. When were you born? There you go. It's even answering as if he was Julius. I, Julius Caesar, was born on the July 12th or 13th in the year 100 BCE. So again, this is a great interactive tool, perhaps particularly maybe for younger learners, but I've used it in my adult classes, I have to say, and it's great fun. I got ChatGPT to pretend to be Oliver Cromwell and a historic figure divisive, shall we say. And my learners tried to get Oliver Cromwell to apologize. And ChatGPT, being Oliver, would not apologize. So there you go. So yeah, have a bit of fun with that. But again, it's just setting it up with the prompts. As you can see here, I told it to pretend to be somebody. You could also get it to, if you were doing a language class, you might get it to role play, say, a ticketing agent. And here's a prompt. Now, all these prompts that I've used will be in the resources that will be sent around by Fergus will send it. So don't worry about having to try and write them all down or not. You'll all have access to them. So here we have customer service agent. Good morning. Welcome to the train station. How may I assist you today? So we can put in, I would like to go to Galway. Who wouldn't? Who wouldn't like to go to Galway? There we go. Okay, so if you were doing a language class, you could get...
Certainly. Galway is a wonderful destination.
As you can see...
When would you like to travel? And do you have a preference for a specific time or type of ticket?
So you could get them to read or you could get them to write. I want to leave on Friday. Away you go. Okay, so that you could be having this interaction with your learner with ChatGPT pretending to be someone, because I know that we can take on that role ourselves and role play. Okay, that's what we do. But what's really good about using it with ChatGPT as well is it adds that bit of randomness to it that you get in real life as well from a customer service agent. They might just suddenly ask you, or they might ask you the questions in a different order, so it makes it the learner then has to be a little bit more flexible and has to, rather than just learning it by rote, they then have to be a little bit more flexible in responding to ChatGPT as well. The other thing is, I would say, is how much is what you can do with this sort of thing is you can put, what I can get it to do is I can put the whole conversation into a text. So what it can do is put our conversation that we just had, puts it into a text like this, as you can see. Okay, and then for the learner, I could get it to create 5 true or false questions based on the text. I misspelt that. That's okay. Okay, so the learner could be practicing their language, practicing the interaction, and then you could create a worksheet based on the very interaction that they just had. Okay, so for reinforcement and things like that. And again, I literally just did that on the fly. I just made that up straight out of my head then. And it's not about me being imaginative, it's about ChatGPT supplying us with a very quick tool that means that I don't have to spend, like, again, that's going to take me half an hour to an hour to type out and put into a format where I can just now copy it from there and change it. All right, I want to flip over.
Scott, I have two questions. Sorry. Esme is asking, can you input orally or only via text?
Okay, so perfect segue. Thank you very much, Esme, because we are going over to Copilot. You can't input orally into ChatGPT. It only accepts text, and you can paste it in, type it in, but it only accepts text. ChatGPT, and I'll demonstrate that now. I'm going to open a new tab in my browser. I'm using Microsoft Edge. And as you can see here, here's the Copilot symbol. And if I put my mouse over there, it says Open Copilot. So I'm going to click on Open Copilot. Now, remembering Copilot uses ChatGPT 4 as its engine, as they call it. And as you can see here, it works similarly. I've got Ask Me Anything, but crucially in the prompt box, I've got a microphone. And so yourself or the learner, whoever you got that might need to input orally, they can input their questions orally. It works very much the same, like, on your phone when you're doing a search and stuff like that. Again, is it 100% accurate? No, but it's pretty good. It is pretty good. Just one thing with Copilot, because it's in the browser like this, it can be a little bit clunky sometimes. If you scroll down too far, see how it just disappeared? It's funny. I don't know why it does that. It's some design thing. It's not very good. But if you scroll back, if you scroll back up, the Copilot will agree. The Copilot will appear again. But one thing that might be easier to use to stop that happening, because the whole scrolling thing can be a little bit annoying, is there's a notebook up here. And this Copilot, once you've opened Copilot, if you open your notebook, it just does it in two screens here. Okay. And one of the things, and why this is good, is because you can change your prompt just straight there on the screen. It doesn't it's not like this endless scroll sort of thing. One of the key things that I want to show you with Copilot, though, is that it can draw things. So, for example, draw a cross section of a house. And again, here you have to send it off over here. When you're in Notebook, just hitting enter won't do it. You have to click on the submit button. And as you can see down in the bottom box, Copilot is going, I'll try to create that, and hopefully it'll do it. Okay.
Just while we're waiting, Scott.
Yes.
We have a question from Connor about ChatGPT. I'm concerned about operating accounts for children. Is there a way of logging them in that you'd recommend?
Okay, so yeah, using it for children. Now it does have very strong filters on it. Okay, it won't generally swear. It won't say anything rude. It has if I just flip back while that's doing that, I'll just flip back to this. For example, tell me a rude joke about President Trump. Okay, let's see what it says. Okay, it says, I'm sorry, I can't comply with that request. So there is very strong limitations on it about what it will present. Generally, it won't say anything rude. It won't say anything offensive. It shies away from political things and stuff like that. It just however, clever people and people who really want to dig into it can sometimes get around it, but generally it operates in a I don't want to say safe manner, because there's always information out there that may not be that great, but there is very strong limitations on it. So yeah, look, my daughter uses Copilot through Bing, and she's 11, and we haven't had any issues yet. Okay, but I think you're right to be wary and to monitor it, as I do. Just to be sure. Now, I'm actually going to go out of the notebook. I'm going to use the normal Copilot, and I'm going to draw a cross section, because the notebook seemed to be stalling. And so let's just see what happens. Okay, here we go. Yes, it's drawing. Okay, so Copilot is drawing me a cross section of a house. Let's see what it comes up with. Now, again, when you want to do drawing prompts, the more descriptive you can make them, the better. So you can do, I want a drawing done. Oh, there we go. That's not bad, is it? It's given me 4 versions. Okay, so again, oops, I scrolled down too far. Sorry about that. Hang on, scroll back up. There we go. There they are. So with the pictures, it doesn't have the option to copy them directly. So what you need to do is you need to right click on each one of the pictures and save the image. Okay, so in Copilot, it does have a copy function, but only for text, not for pictures. Okay, if I click on one of these pictures, it'll make it a little bit bigger so I can see it in more detail. And there you go. So again, where I've used this before is I use it as a language, like a classroom tool. Rather than looking for the exact house or whatever, I can tell it to do me a cross section of a, 2-story house, 3 bedrooms, whatever, etc. Now, if you look really carefully, what you'll see is the AI of it, where it doesn't really know what it's doing. Okay, we've got a couch here and a couch here. We've got clocks all over the walls, loads of clocks, in fact. But that's part of the fun as well. I actually roll with it. I don't bother trying to change it and go, oh no, you shouldn't have too many clocks, you shouldn't have this. I actually just let it go, because when we're talking about language and getting people to describe what they're seeing, it actually is those points of interest that makes it easier for people to talk about. So, you can get it to do all sorts of drawings. Again, there's strong limitations, so you won't be able to get it to draw, naked pictures, for example, or things like that. I know you will have heard probably on the news about, the AI being used to do this with celebrities and stuff, but that is not this AI. Okay, that's other AIs that are available. That's not Copilot, and it's not ChatGPT.
Scott,
yes.
Gail is asking, is there any copyright issues with these drawings?
Okay, so that's sort of going into the area that I'm not really an expert in. If the main thing that you have to be worried about with copyright is if you're inputting something that has copyright on it already. So, for example, if you're copying text from Ulysses and putting it in to then change it and turn it into, simpler language, you could be breaking copyright in that way. Okay, because you're not the original owner of Ulysses. I think, though, that we also need to be mindful of the leeway that we have as educators and using them as classroom resources. Okay, we're not doing this to create money out of. Okay, so even if you were getting Ulysses, putting it in, and then changing part of it to make it more simple or putting it into a different language, I think, again, my personal opinion, I think you're going to be fairly all right. There is, again, these are things that are sort of my scope. There is arguments about copyright. Where did the AI get that image? The thing is say for the cross section of the house, the Copilot just drew that. That's not from the internet. It didn't go and get another picture from the internet. And it's the same with the text that ChatGPT creates. And this is what the AI component of it is. It's generating it itself right there in front of you. Okay, so there is no other cross section on the internet that looks exactly like that. Okay, so you can then use that in educational purposes, no problem. Okay. If you were then to go and monetize it and stuff like that, well, again, that's something between you and Microsoft, perhaps. I don't know. So where the copyright issue happens with AI a lot, and what the arguments are that you might have heard in media and stuff, is where did Copilot learn to draw a house like that? And that's where the issue with copyright mainly is at the moment, because the AIs have been trained on other people's pictures, on Ulysses, Yeats, all of these people, all these authors for text. So it's been trained on all of these copyright texts, and that's where a lot of the argument is for us. So sorry, I can't give you a hard and fast answer on that, but like I said, that's where I would come from with it. But certainly
another question on that, Scott, sorry.
Yep.
Can description phrases be added to the pictures it draws?
Yeah, not directly. So this is the thing. So you would have to do it like this. You would have to say, copy the image, go put it into your Word document. So I just open up my Word document here again. And hopefully I'll just, hang on. And did it paste in my picture? Yes, I think it's coming in. I'm not sure if you can, my screen's gone a little bit funny. I don't know why. Oh, yep. The picture is there. Yep, so there's the picture. So you could put your description there if you wanted. Like just copy and pasting the image into a document yourself. But it's not like WhatsApp. You can't sort of put a caption underneath it directly. It does those things different. It handles those things separately. But like I said, with Copilot, it has the microphone, so you could set up Copilot to do something similar like we did before. Say role play the customer service agent. Okay, so now it's waiting for me. So I could maybe use the microphone. I'm not sure whether this will work because my microphone is attached to Zoom. So it might not be. Can it hear me? Yep, it can hear me. Sorry. So could I go to Galway, please?
Certainly. Let's get you on your way to Galway. The journey from Clonmel to Galway by train covers a distance of approximately 139. There are 3 connections available per day, with the first...
Okay, as you can see, it's a little less natural, but again, you could change that and you could tell it to be more natural. It's being like a little bit sort of, it's being very exact. The other interesting thing is because I'm using Microsoft, and using it through the browser, I am actually in Clonmel. And so it's taken my location data, possibly without my permission, and used it in its response. So that's something interesting. But you can see how you can do the audio with Copilot very easily as well. And again, you could ask it to put the conversation into a single text, like we did before with the other one. So you could use it as a worksheet. Yep, and there you go. Even though mine's a little bit jumbled, it's added in my text, and you can do the same sorts of things with ChatGPT. So Copilot works very similar to ChatGPT. To use Copilot and to save your work, though, as someone asked, it's got the similar symbols here as well, I should say, actually. We've got copy, so I can copy that text, or it's actually got an export version as well in Copilot. I can export this as a Word, a PDF, or a text as well. And of course, I've got the read aloud version as well. So it's very similar to ChatGPT because, of course, it's based off Copilot. For Copilot, though, to save all of your prompts and all your work, you need to be signed in. Okay, so you need to be signing into Bing and into your Microsoft account. ChatGPT is similar. you need to be signed in. And just if you're going to use this on your apps or on your phone, make sure you're signing into the same account, obviously, as well. So you've got access to all of your previous prompts. Now, I just want to quickly, in the last 5 minutes, I just want to quickly go over some of the resources that I've that will be emailed to you. And they're on a Padlet. If you've ever used a Padlet, it'll look like this. And each one of these things is just a link, basically. You just go to the links. I've got just getting started section. What I've got down here is some ideas for prompts. Here's the prompts that we used today. In fact, I'm going to have to add to it because we've used some new ones that I hadn't used before. There's other resources that have sourced online and been given to by colleagues that may be of use as well. So have a look at those. And then in section 3, here's a couple of a few free courses that if you feel like you'd want to do a little bit of an online course, then feel free to try them out. I've had a go at the ChatGPT course on edX. Yep, it's interesting. Again, I personally would recommend just using it like I've just been using it with you guys today. But if you wanted more, here's generative AI in general. Okay, and another one there. In section 4, here's some links to some other generative AI. Midjourney and DALL-E 3 are image creators, and they're far more powerful than Copilot. What is interesting, though, is DALL-E 3 is owned by OpenAI. And so if we flick back to Copilot, you'll see the image that I got Copilot to create was created using DALL-E 3. So Copilot uses both the ChatGPT and the image creator DALL-E 3 that were created by, invented by OpenAI. Sorry, if I just go back to my resources, but there's some other ones. Crayon is another free image generating tool. And again, like I said, just experiment with it. It's text-based, but you just experiment with what you want to do. You might want to create images. You might be doing art, and you might want to create images in a particular style, modernism, Renaissance, whatever, whatever it might be. Here's an interesting one here. This is a character AI. You can actually create little characters that are that speak, and so that might be interesting for learners. The main one that I do want to just draw your attention to, though, is this one here, Goblin Tools. This is Goblin Tools is for neurodivergent learners, and what it does is it's not really for neurodivergent learners. It's actually for us. And what it does is you put in your idea or your topic that you want to present in class, and it will help you break it down. And it can break it down from a very big idea down to a very, very tiny, small piece. And so that is often something that's helpful for neurodivergent learners to then, start at something smaller and then move up to the bigger idea. And Goblin Tools is a great way for breaking that down. You can then take those little pieces of information and you could put them then back into ChatGPT to maybe generate some ideas around content. I have to update this Google Bard one because it's not called Google Bard anymore. It's called Google Gemini. Operates very similar to Copilot. I haven't done anything on it today because I haven't actually been using it. I've only really been using Copilot and ChatGPT. And as I said down at the start, in section 5, there's other considerations around, as you can see, academic integrity assessments and things like that, which, again, as education practitioners, we should be across in some manner. But I'm coming to the end of my presentation, and so I would like to thank you very much for joining me today, and I hope that it's been of some use to you, and that you have got something out of it. And like I said, just share your ideas amongst your colleagues, share them, get using it, because that's how I've learned to do what I've done, talking to other colleagues that suddenly come in and go, oh, I've got this idea, I just did this with it. I'm like, wow, I didn't realize you could do that. So the more people that you know that are using it, the better. If anyone's got their phone in front of them, they can use that QR code to access my resources directly. But like I said, Fergus will email that link around as well. But other than that, I'll leave it there and hand it back over to Fergus, and hope everyone has a great afternoon.
Thanks so much, Scott. That was really great. In the chat, people are putting in very, very positive comments about your webinar. So thanks so much. Scott, there was one question. One last question.
Yep.
I'll ask about Copilot. Does it record a chat into an audio file?
No, not that I know of. It will give it back out as audio, as you saw, like with the microphone and the speaker. So the only way that I could think that you could possibly do that is if you recorded it, say, with your phone as you're doing it, or if you had a screen recorder, perhaps on your laptop, you could screen record what you're doing, and then take the audio file out of it. But it doesn't output a separate audio file for you. No, it only just reads what's on the screen, sort of thing. But I tell you what, that would be a great idea for them to do. I like that idea.
Olga, you can do that. Listen, thanks so much, Scott. Honestly, the feedback coming in is very, very positive. So thanks so much. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Just to let you know that we've 2 more webinars on this week. Tomorrow at 11 o'clock, we've got how to use free built-in technology from your mobile phones. And then on Friday morning, a little bit similar to Scott's, at 11 o'clock, we've got AI, how is it, and how can I use it in my adult literacy and ESOL classroom. So they're on this week. You can register on the NALA website. So
yeah, definitely on
Scott,
the
thanks a million.
Or ESOL focus. So I think that would be really, I'm going to tune into that myself.
Right. Okay. Thanks again, Scott. That was fantastic. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Bye-bye.